Hello, everyone. I see a bunch of folks jumping on. We're going to let people roll in from the waiting room, but we'll get started momentarily. As you enter the Zoom, please go ahead and jump into the chat and introduce yourself. We love having a sense of who is on the line. So if you could give your name, the government or organization you work for, and where that is located, if it's different, that would be great. So go ahead and just introduce yourself in the chat. And as we do get started today, we have a presentation and three speakers, as you hopefully know. But if you have questions, we're going to leave time for Q&A at the end. So please feel free to drop any questions in the chat as we go. And I see we still have a few folks coming in, but we will get ready to get started. And as I said, as you're rolling in, please go ahead and introduce yourself in the Zoom chat so we know who all is on the line. Great. So hi, everyone. Excited to officially kick off. I'm Caitlin Lewis. I'm the Executive Director of Work for America. I think most all of you know us at this point because it is how you ended up on this call, but we help state and local governments increase their capacity to recruit and retain talent, which, as you all know, is more important now than ever. And it's been a year of pretty significant downsizing for the federal government, as everyone is well aware. And a few weeks ago, the Supreme Court ruled that federal agencies can continue with planned rifts while individual cases continue to play out in the lower courts. So this continues a cycle of confusion for a lot of federal.
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm taking.
But it also creates an opportunity. Oh, Peter, if you could mute, that would be great. Thank you. But it also creates an opportunity for cities and states to capture this talent and to keep great public servants in public service. So many of these workers have signed up for Civic Match, which is a platform everyone here is familiar with, run by Work for America, as it connects the hiring managers on this call who represent state and local governments across the country with talent that's exiting the federal government. Today, we have about 11,000 job seekers using the platform, and our government users include almost 150 cities, over 50 counties, and 36 state governments. And geographically, these governments span about 48 states. And then just a couple quick notes on who we have on the platform, especially for those who may not have logged in a little while. Nearly 53% of Civic Match candidates have over 10 years of experience. And some of the top skills that we're seeing on the platform are listed here. They include things like budget, procurement, contracts, HR, and these are functions we hear all the time from you all, from cities and states that you're desperate to hire for. So encourage you to jump in and take a look if you haven't in a little while. And then we know that this is really just the beginning. The federal administration plans another 200,000 RIFs over the next 18 months, and the folks who took the deferred resignation program are going to be out of work starting in September. At the same time, we know that there are 745,000 openings in state and local governments across the country, which presents a lot of opportunities to keep this outgoing federal talent in public service. But we do also know from the data and from talking to so many of you on this call, as well as our job seekers on Civic Match, that it takes a long time to hire in state and local government. And we started hearing from many of you who understood the opportunity to capture this talent and wanted insights on creative ways to speed up the hiring process, which brings us to today's program. And fortunately, we've seen a lot of great examples across the Civic Match network. And so Work for America drafted a memo, which our team will drop into the chat here, that includes 10 practical strategies to attract outgoing federal talent to your government teams. Whether it's cutting red tape, launching targeted hiring events, these approaches are helping capture the excellent talent that is leaving the federal government. But rather than hear about those strategies from me, we wanted to bring in three amazing Civic Match partners who have great examples to share. So without further ado, I am very pleased to spotlight leadership across three state government teams who are modernizing their hiring processes. And I think we're going to start with Jason from Pennsylvania. So I'm thrilled to welcome Jason Swarthout, who's the acting Chief Human Resources Officer at the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Jason was one of the first state leaders I spoke to when launching Work for America, and I was blown away by the thoughtful approach the Shapiro administration has taken to recruiting and retaining talent. And that work has grown only more impressive over the past 12 months. So we're really excited to have Jason here to tell us more about it. And Jason, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. First, I just want to start by thanking Work for America for inviting us to be part of this important conversation, especially at a time when there's so much uncertainty at the federal level. So in March of this past year, Governor Shapiro signed an executive order really aimed at recruiting former federal employees to fill critical vacancies in our state government workforce. In many cases, as all of you know, federal employees do the same or similar work as other government employees and Commonwealth employees. Jobs like our civil engineers, our nurses, corrections officers, accountants, park rangers, etc. But one of our goals was to make it easier for these displaced federal workers to apply for our vacant positions within the Commonwealth that really align with their federal work experience. And just to give you kind of a high level overview, the Commonwealth, our classification plan has about 2,600 job titles in it. And the federal government plan has even more than that. So in order for us to kind of make this match and see what job titles that federal employees would qualify for, we ended up leveraging generative AI to analyze all the thousands of federal job titles and descriptions and create a crosswalk with equivalent Commonwealth titles. Basically, what we did was take our job specifications and upload them in ChatGPT and compare it against the federal occupational handbook and asked it to list in order kind of the strongest matches. And then we went through manually after that, but that really saved us a lot of time. But what it means now is that we can consider relevant federal work experience as equivalent to Commonwealth work experience. And we also updated our employment application to include a section where applicants can highlight their federal experience. And we have a centralized HR team and centralized evaluators, but this really helped with our evaluation team. They could see right on the application, see the job title to better match qualifications with our minimum requirements. So that was one piece that we did. The next was we launched a dedicated page on our employment website where job seekers with federal work experience can explore how their experience translates to those state jobs. This page actually includes that crosswalk I mentioned, so you can see the federal job titles and how they align to our top recruitment needs. There's also information on there about like our hiring practices, our civil service versus non-civil service job titles, our employee benefits, and they can contact a recruiter and talk to a live person as well if they need some extra help. And we have that link on there as well. But a big part of this, in addition to looking at the METs and making the website and the crosswalk, was just communication in general. The governor announced a federal hiring initiative. We had a Commonwealth job fair in Harrisburg, a statewide job fair really in Harrisburg, and this announcement garnered state and national media coverage that we could build upon with our own digital outreach. We leveraged social media, online ads, our partner networks, and it just really raised the visibility of careers in state government for federal workers and connected directly with that talent pool. And we've really been expanding our recruitment efforts as well with virtual and in-person events really geared specifically towards federal employees or federal workers. We've either hosted or participated in at least 6 events so far, including 2 with Civic Match. And we're planning a job fair in October in the southeast part of the state down in Philly. But overall, I can say that these efforts are really working. Since the executive order was signed by the governor in March, we've received thousands of applications from current or former federal employees. Our state agencies have hired over 340 individuals with federal work experience in critical existing vacancies. And looking ahead, and Caitlin mentioned this, we know the federal deferred resignation program, I think it's Fork in the Road program, is going to end is set to expire next month in September. So we're really anticipating another influx of former federal workers into the labor market. And we plan to continue to really do outreach engagement with this population to, help us address our workforce needs and serve our fellow Pennsylvanians. So really with that, I just want to say thanks again to Work for America for the opportunity to share our work. And I look forward to continuing this important conversation and learning from all of you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jason, for everything you all are doing and for the partnership. And I am excited to introduce our next speaker, who is Neal Desai, the Chief Human Resources Officer for the state of Maryland. Maryland was our first spotlight state at Work for America, and our collaboration with the governor's team has resulted in several hires across the state, and our team's really thrilled to be in partnership. Maryland in general has taken a strong lead on welcoming former federal employees to the state workforce, so we're really excited to have Neal here to tell us a bit more about it. Over to you, Neal. Oh, Neal, I think your volume is not on.
How about now?
Great.
Great. Sorry about that. I was just echoing Jason and saying thank you, Caitlin, to you and the whole team. You guys have been unbelievable partners throughout, and the partnership with Work for America has been really fantastic for the state of Maryland, and so very much appreciate it. I know we've only got a couple of minutes to talk Maryland's program, so I'll go quickly through the few things that we're working on. Much like what Jason sort of talked about for the state of Pennsylvania, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we're also had a significant investment in displaced federal workers. For us, we created sort of one-stop shop job pages on our main jobs board, directed a lot of attention to that, similarly through social media, public announcements, targeted outreach to federal workers, and drove just a huge amount of interest to those particular areas. We focused in the first wave of activity on a few sort of common, sort of very applicable from Fed to state government job classifications in HR, in procurement, in fiscal accounts and fiscal accounting. So had a really remarkable. We had over nearly 7,500 applications from over 3,000 individuals for those positions, and have been continuing that trajectory with looking at subsequent waves for additional sort of critical and hard to fill positions. We've also been obviously working with Civic Match and directly reaching out to a bunch of candidates for some of our more senior and at will positions to try to drum up the best candidates we possibly can, and have had great success with that, both attracting just a fantastic pool of candidates and making some really solid hires off of that. We've also done a bunch of work in what's called, Maryland is calling the Feds to Ed program, which is a method and sort of an approach to get displaced federal workers who potentially are interested in second careers as teachers or already teachers interested in teaching in the state of Maryland. And so there's recruiting and outreach associated with that, marketing, website design, user-friendly teacher preparations, licensure requirements, all of that kind of thing to kind of make the opportunity known to folks. And then we're pushing and exploring alternative pathways to getting licensed, combining both content knowledge that can be demonstrated with the formal licensure process, and then continuing that support as we go along. So not just sort of a one-stop shop, but or a once and done, but really ongoing supporting local education agencies and providing pre-service and ongoing training for career changers, particularly for those who are coming in as conditional license holders or on some sort of temporary licensing. So that has been a big thing. We have over 1,600 teacher vacancies in Maryland, and so we've got a lot of former feds now in the pipeline to become teachers, and hopefully a win-win for the state and for the federal workers who are interested in exploring teaching. And then we are also, as a state, doing a lot of work to provide information and resources to federal workers generally. So the state has, the governor has set up a rapid response website that has a sort of it's a single sort of pane of truth that links out to all the many resources that Maryland has, whether that's unemployment insurance, emergency loan programs, career transition assistance, et cetera, kind of as the full package of everything somebody might need both for a career transition and to support them during that transition. And that's had over 138,000 unique visitors since it got launched, and so has been a real center for our effort. That links in part to things like virtual information sessions, where we've had close to 3,000 participants over the last few months join for all kinds of different services, whether that's resume review, navigating the state personnel system and how to get a job and hire with us, various resources that you can have. So we've done a lot of that, and we have recurring weekly sessions. There's also 33 job centers across the state of Maryland that provide kind of individualized, personalized services. People can go walk into these, they're called AJCs, American Job Centers. They can walk in and provide resume review, mock interviews, tailored individualized career search help, all of that kind of individualized support for folks who are looking. And then, of course, as Jason mentioned, there's a whole bunch of activity going on with job fairs, and we've been doing a fair bit to connect both the local sort of city and county career fairs, as well as agency-specific, nonprofit, and statewide fairs. And so I've had a lot of activity for job fairs as well. So there's a bunch going on, and again, we'll just kind of close it out and say, throughout all of this, it's been one of the great things has been to say, for particular jobs, particularly hard to fill senior positions, the Civic Match has been a phenomenal resource to have added to that whole list. So I'll stop there.
Thanks so much, Neal. I should have called out that you yourself are a great example of moving from the federal level to the state level. So we have a shining example here, in addition to someone doing incredible work to help bring federal workers into.
And have brought on 3 other displaced federal workers onto my team since there. So it's been great.
We love to see it. We have found that when Civic Match hires land in local or state government, they tend to hire more Civic Match candidates. So selfishly, we love that that cycle. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Neal. Thank you, Jason. Last but not least, as a New Yorker, I must say, is Quinn Rapp-Ellis, who's the Assistant Secretary for Labor and Workforce for New York State. I'm sure everyone here has seen New York's iconic You're Hired marketing campaign and suite of services for federal workers. Quinn's team is behind that. New York State also implemented the New York Helps program, which temporarily removes civil service exam requirements for thousands of positions to accelerate hiring in tandem with broader civil service reform. So very excited to have Quinn here today and to hand it over to her to talk more about New York State's efforts.
Thank you, Caitlin, and thanks so much, Work for America, for having me. And Jason and Neal, so fascinating listening to you talk. Great ideas and things that you're doing in Pennsylvania and Maryland. So in New York, Governor Hochul has really had a really long service in career and public service. So, for her, she knows the value of public service and the enormous talent that's within the public workforce. And the news earlier this year of the layoffs at the federal level was really heartbreaking. And so she was like, we need to do something and step in here and bring in these highly educated and talented people to New York, which is a great place to work and live. Like Caitlin just mentioned, we have the New York Helps program, which started in 2024 and waived civil service exam requirements. So it's easier than ever now to sort of start your career with New York State. And so within weeks of the news of the layoffs, Governor Hochul held a roundtable with impacted federal workers, and she launched this You're Hired campaign. And I appreciate you calling it iconic, the image, because I think it is too. Really cool, Lady Liberty, sort of like saying we want you. And like this roundtable is really tough, right? It's these workers who have been like career public servants, love their job, love serving the people. And then to hear the way that they're being talked about and the way that they were treated was just really devastating. And so the campaign that we launched in New York was really saying, the federal government might say that you're fired, but here in New York, we're saying you're hired and we want you, and please come work for us. And so we placed digital billboards in Washington, D.C.'s Union Station and also in New York's Moynihan Station. We asked all of our state agencies to also post a billboard wherever they advertise across the state to really get the message out. And then we launched a website, ny.gov/we-want-you. And since that site was launched, I think end of February, beginning of March, we've had 23 million views to it and 6 million active users. And on that site, we have information about New York State, and then there's also a place where people can fill out a form, and that will shoot directly to our New York State Department of Labor, who will then reach out to anyone who's completed that. So we've had over 800 workers complete that form. They've all been contacted. Our New York State Department of Labor has provided over 2,500 unique services to impacted workers. So that's things like resume preparation, job search assistance, matching and referral to job openings, referrals to training and supportive services, stuff like that. And then they also have virtual career fairs, and we've had more than 300 people attend one of those. In March and April, Department of Labor also held weekly webinars. We had over 500 workers register for a webinar. We shared information on our Centers for Career and Government, which is really matching people to our jobs. There's a calendar, virtual and in-person career fairs. We walked through Career Center and job placement services, walked through all of the free online resources that DOL has for job search assistance. And then we also provided information on unemployment insurance so that people were able to apply for that if they needed to. And then on top of that, we have asked our agencies to sort of track their hiring of federal workers. And so since the launch of our campaign, we've gotten over 11,000 applications, interviewed 875 people, and we've hired 123 people. And we hope that that will continue to grow. We still have the ny.gov/we-want-you site active. We are still encouraging people to fill out the form there, have DOL contact them, receive services. And we are still doing webinars on a monthly basis for those who need them. So we really, we value public service in New York. We really want people to come here, and we really hope that we'll continue to welcome great talent to New York State's workforce. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much, Quinn. Noting that we have about 7 minutes left, I do want to go ahead and open it up to Q&A. So for those who have questions, feel free to drop your questions in the chat, or you're welcome to also raise your hand on Zoom, come off mute, and ask the question in real life of our guests. I know Chloe shared in the chat the memo that Work for America drafted, and we'll make sure to share that around via email after today's webinar. There's a bunch of other stuff packed in there in addition to the things we heard our guests talk about today, everything ranging from fast track hiring processes to licensing reciprocity, some additional detail on hiring fairs, same-day hiring events, dedicated review steps, and hiring preference for federal workers. So really encourage you to check that out. And we'll just say that Work for America is here to support if there's any ideas that you want to dig into for your city or for your state, and we can be a supportive partner or help make connections to jurisdictions that have already tried this out and already done these things. We are here to help, so don't hesitate to reach out. And with that, I want to open it up for any questions. It seems like we might have a shy group, which is not usually the case. But if folks have any questions, please feel free to jump off mute or drop them in the chat. And I see Jason shared some additional resources, so thank you for that, Jason.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jillian McGuffey from National Academy of Public Administration. I had to join late, and so I was actually curious. I joined while Neal was talking about the services provided by, I believe it was by the state of Maryland. And you were talking about like resume building and coaching, those sorts of things. Are those being provided by the government, or was that Civic Match, or was that a different organization? I just missed that detail. So just would love to hear that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I can answer, I guess, which is, yeah, those are being provided by the state of Maryland.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Great. And then one question for all three of our panelists, and then a specific follow-up for Pennsylvania, but would love to hear, Neal, Quinn, Jason, how have you gotten executive buy-in for these initiatives, and what advice do you have for cities on the phone who are interested in implementing some of these things and want to make the case to their executives? And then Jason, when you answer, if you could speak to whether your custom GPT is on the PA website or where that lives, that would be great. And maybe Quinn, do you want to start?
Sure, I can start. I touched on it a little bit. I think for us, it was really easy to get buy-in because Governor Hochul feels so strongly that public service is important, and she knows that it's a really strong group of talented workers. So it's kind of a no-brainer for us. But I think, you know, everyone has openings, right? Like, so this is just an opportunity to recruit good people into the openings. Something I didn't share is we've been tracking sort of people who fill out the survey, like what's their level of education. And it's shocking how many people filling out have a master's degree. So it's like, these are very highly educated people. I'm sure that there are roles that you have that need to be filled that these people can fill. And so, you know, it's like, we're all public servants. Of course, we think jobs are great and we have good benefits, and we should be recruiting other people who have the same mindset.
Absolutely. Jason, can I pass it to you?
Sure. Similar to New York, Governor Shapiro came out strong and in support of all this, and issued the executive order. So the executive buy-in and leadership from the governor's office through even our cabinet and down into the agencies was there. It was extremely strong. So no issues there. As far as the custom GPT, I think our team kind of used that behind the scenes. It was our classifiers that when they were looking at the specs. So we don't have anything like that posted out there. We just took the output of that and put the crosswalk on the link to the website that I put in the chat. And the jobs that are out there are really like our high demand, hard to fill ones that we thought the federal government could really help with.
Great, thank you. And Neal, would love to hear anything you have to add. And I'm also going to throw in another question to the mix, which is from Jessica with the City of Boston. Interested to hear how you balance lifting up candidates who are outgoing federal workers with just the general workload that hiring managers are already facing. And obviously the influx of resumes from federal workers adds to that. So in addition to the kind of buy-in question, can you start the second question there and speak a little bit to workload?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I will echo what others have said in terms of executive buy-in. Governor Moore was very sort of driven and he was driving the train and sort of saying, hey, we need to do something here. I think there's a real win-win for states and displaced federal workers here, and that it is beneficial to the state to bring in that level of expertise and knowledge and capability. At the same time, also for Maryland residents, those are folks who are going to be economically impacted. So ensuring that they are finding employment is a really strong and valuable thing for the state as well. So I think was very little difficulty in getting executive buy-in for that. On the question of balancing workload, it is a great question. There has absolutely been a significant increase in the amount of applications we are running. It last time I looked, it was some 50% above where we were at this time last year. So there has been just absolutely a significant increase in volume. We have done it by targeting the sort of banner displaced federal workers program on a few particular areas. So, for job families to start and more are rolling out. But so we've been able to focus intently on those particular areas, sort of leverage the expertise and skills that the federal workers have and target reviews of them. But across the board, we are thinking a lot about how do we bring on additional resources to manage the surge. How do we work with agencies to ensure the right folks are getting through the screens and to the interviews and getting addressed and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'll pass it off to the others.
Thanks so much, Neal. And noting we're right up at time, the one thing I just want to add to both of those questions is really thinking about focusing on the talent that's coming out of the federal government, what their skills are, and where you have the highest need. This is sort of to what Neal was just saying, but we've seen so many of the folks exiting the federal government really have expertise in things like procurement, finance, contracts, HR. And so to the extent you can really put your energy into moving that talent towards open roles with requirements that need those sets of skills and expertise, we strongly recommend it. And we've, again, heard often from folks on this call that those are roles that are really hard to hire for. So I love what Neal said about being targeted in the types of skills and roles that you're focused on with this particular population. I'm noting that we're right at 101, and we do have a question about civil service testing, which I may, Raven, send you some information in follow-up. And if we have a question for Quinn on the New York State side, Quinn, we may ask for your help in sending that follow-up, but want to be respectful of people's time. I will note just very briefly that this Thursday we have a Civic Match Live event for anyone who is hiring for roles in communications and external affairs. It's a great opportunity to meet Civic Match candidates and to present those roles to folks who may be a fit for your openings. Please reach out if that's something that's of interest, either to your hiring manager or to info@workforamerica.org. And then every Tuesday, we have hiring manager office hours. So if you just want to learn more about Civic Match, if you have questions about how to best utilize the platform, if you want help making a short list, you can jump in to our Civic Match office hours, and both of those links are in the chat. And I want to just thank everyone for joining us for a quick 30 minutes today, and especially to our speakers, not just for joining and talking to this group, but for everything that you all are doing every day to speed up the hiring of federal workers and to provide support to job seekers who are in a real moment of need. We're here to help, so please do reach out if there's any ways that Civic Match or Work for America more broadly can provide support to you. And please keep an eye out for upcoming events and keep in touch with any and all questions. Thanks so much, and please have a great rest of your week. We look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks all. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin and team.
Good to see you, Jillian. Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you too.